Welcome in, everybody. Thank you. This is Two Way Tonight, and you're blessed, you're lucky, you're fortunate to be here on an historic evening for the program. Why is it historic, you ask? In at least three ways. Number one, I've never done this show with my hair this short, because I haven't had my hair cut this short in forever. So many of you will be like, who's guest hosting Two Way Tonight? And number two, it's historic. It's our last program of 2025, very last, at least my last program. There are other Two Ways will be going on, but my last program of 2025. So grateful to my colleagues at Two Way, to our sponsors, to the Two Way community, to all our guests. Just couldn't be more grateful to you for a great year, and looking forward to a little R&R with my family. And then lastly, it's historic because, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, we've never had one guest from North Carolina and one guest from South Carolina. And the reason that's significant is because people in South Carolina think they're better than people in North Carolina, and people in North Carolina know they're better than people in South Carolina. So it always works out exactly that way. They're all very nice people, and then they have something about barbecue sauce. I don't know, yellow, brown. I'll have it all as long as there's a pig involved. Anyway, grateful to you for being here. Pat McCrory, former governor of North Carolina, here. Jaime Harrison, former chair of the DNC. Both have been here before. Couldn't be happier to have them. And then is Maureen here already? We waiting on Maureen?
Yes.
All right. Maureen O'Connell is a member of the Two Way community, former FBI agent, and love having her on days like this because I have about 1,500 questions as we're coming on the air, as they say. Although for hours, the officials in Rhode Island have said they're about to arrest someone, and after saying, well, there's no connection between what happened in the MIT professor and Brown, well, now they're saying there is, and the New York Times is reporting that there's a rental car involved. I have to say, of all the ridiculousness that's gone on with state and local law enforcement, and maybe the FBI, Maureen will help sort this out with us. The most ridiculous thing to me, just ridiculous on its face. Like the minute they said it was so ridiculous. They said, we don't know who the suspect is in the MIT professor's killing. We don't know who the suspect is in the Brown killings, but we know the two cases aren't connected. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I'm not Inspector Clouseau, Inspector Gadget, Encyclopedia Brown, either of the Hardy Boys, but I can tell you that makes no sense. Makes no sense. But Maureen will be here in a moment to sort that out with us. And we're gonna talk about the Brown thing. I hope our other guests care about that because we're gonna start with that. But we're also gonna talk about a bunch of stuff. They renamed the Kennedy Center today, or at least they've tried to. The president's board is going to call it the Trump Kennedy Center. And it's not clear that they can do that without Congress's involvement, but that's causing a bit of a brouhaha. There's some Epstein news. There's some news about the scandal in Minnesota. We have an interesting poly market on that to share with you. And two really interesting sound bites, maybe three, from former Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, who I like Jaime Harrison a lot. I do. But now that we're competitively booking for our respective podcasts, I have to keep my hostility in check. Anyway, Jaime got Kamala Harris and he interviewed her and got some sound bites from that. So all that and more here on, as I said, the final episode of 2025. All right. I'm juggling a lot. Oh, when I thank our sponsors, of course, I want to thank all of them, but particularly our friends at Fairway and Green, who've outfitted me for the year with all this great stuff. Still time. If you want to give Two-Way merch from Fairway and Green for the holidays, go to twoway.tv/fairway. But not a lot of time if you want to get it before Christmas. Although in some households, you just say, it's coming late. Maybe give them a picture, print it out, go to the color printer and print out a picture of whatever it is you bought them. So there's that. And then I think I got to do one other ad now. Yes, I do. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, you can't see it because I don't have a wide shot. Cozy Earth pants are adorning the lower portion of my body. Cozy Earth pants are spectacular, as are the sheets, the towels, the bubble cuddle blanket, all of it still amazingly available to you at 40% off if you go to two-way or cozyearth.com, promo code two-way. Cozyearth.com, promo code two-way. Give the gift of everyday luxury in the holiday season. Buy some stuff for yourself because if you haven't bought the pants yet, it's like the IQ test. I've said this before. When I worked at ABC News, we had an employee pension plan. And they'd match whatever you put in, they'd match it. So if you put in up to 20%. So if you put in 20% of your salary, the company would give 20% in addition. And my boss said, Mark, that's an IQ test. If any employee doesn't do that, I'm just going to fire them because they're too stupid to work here. Same thing. If you haven't bought the pants from Cozy Earth yet, I'm not going to fire you, but it's an IQ test. Go buy the pants. CozyEarth.com, promo code two-way for 40% off. All right, here we go. First, we'll bring in Jaime Harrison, former chairman of the DNC. Mr. Chairman,
Hello, Mark. How are you,
welcome in.
man?
Thank you for coming back.
Thank you, man.
Where'd you do your interview with Vice President Harris?
We actually did it out in LA. There was a
Yeah.
DNC meeting in
Yeah.
LA last week, and so we had been trying to nail it down for months, and
Yeah.
we were able to do it while we were out there.
Were you there when Gavin Newsom was reportedly mobbed by well-wishers? Were you there for that?
I was in the building, did not see the mob itself, but a lot of folks had their pictures and their selfies on their on their phone. So he was very popular out there, but Kamala was as well. So
yeah, I mean, they're treating him like he's like Keith Partridge, and Pat will get that. Jamie will have no idea, too young. But anyway, and they're treating her like she's Sinead O'Connor. I don't know, like a rock star. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, thank you for being here. Governor, thank you for being here. Grateful to have you back.
But I do have to mention to my fellow Democrat, we lost an institution in the last hour. Former Governor Jim Hunt from North Carolina, governor of North Carolina for 16 years, was in the famous U.S. Senate race against Jesse Helms. We consider him the governor of North Carolina. And I think if he would have beat Jesse Helms in that very tough race, he probably would have been a leading candidate for president in his day. Just want to honor.
Yeah,
Governor
thank you for that. Thank you for that, Governor. I didn't know about that, but he is a titan. Really one of the most impressive governors of any state I ever met. I met him once. An incredible guy, just a presence and cared so much about the state, and really just a phenomenally impressive man. Thank you for
he became a good friend and mentor, even though we were in different political parties.
Thank you for that. Have you guys been following the rank incompetence of state and local law enforcement in Rhode Island on this Brown thing? Have you guys been following that at all?
Yeah. I'll make an immediate comment. I think the mistake they're making is their press conferences, which we've talked about this in the past, Mark, after hurricanes and storms. And they've got way too many people speaking with very little information. If they have no information, send out a note. We have no new information.
Yeah, 100%.
But they have way too many people on the stage. Everyone's trying to get FaceTime. They're thanking each other too much and congratulating each other too much and providing very little news. And that's a huge mistake governors and mayors and police chiefs often make. Yeah. And sometimes camera time works against you if you have nothing to say.
Yep. Jamie, have you been following it at all?
Just a little, and following a little in terms of the impact on some of the other colleges. I'm a graduate of Yale, and I know many of the other Ivies were locking down because they had no idea whether or not there would be a ripple effect on some of those campuses. But I wholeheartedly agree with the governor. If you don't have anything to say, and sometimes it's best to keep the information as much as you can, so that you can hunt down the person that actually did this. You don't want to give out everything you got on the news. And it's just sad to see this. And this is right around exam time for many of these campuses. And it's just heartbreaking. One of my classmates, her daughter was at Brown, and I think right in the facility where some of the kids got hurt. And so, my heart just goes out to all of them involved. I just, as a parent, you have to be beside yourself to think that your child may be gone. All
right. Thank you for that. Very well said. And the governor disappeared, but he'll be back. Here's Maureen O'Connell, former FBI agent who's a member of our community. And Fox, every time she's on Fox, I'm like, man, we got to get Maureen back. Because Maureen used to come organically, but today we asked her to come because Maureen, I have so many questions for you. Well, here's what we're going to do, because we're waiting. It could be at any moment they have a press conference. If they do, we'll cut to it live. But Maureen, thank you for being here. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you.
So here's the New York Post headline, number one, person of interest ID'd in Brown MIT murders. Again, this was something they said wasn't no connection, as I said. And then they said there's a connection. Here's the Post headline. Brown University shooting suspect identified by cops after days-long manhunt, warrant out for arrest. The New York Times, I think they're the only ones reporting this. It's the only place I've seen it, number two. The authorities are looking for a rental car. Investigators are searching for the individual and a car the that the person is believed to have rented. One official said the authorities have not publicly identified a suspect. In either case, the authorities believe the rental vehicle is the same make and model of a car identified in connection with the shooting of the MIT professor in Brookline. The MIT shooting was 2 days later, and I've been stunned for the last 2 days how little coverage that's been getting, because someone went to the house of a college professor and assassinated them. Maureen, here's what we're going to do, folks. I'm going to ask Maureen one or two questions, then let Governor and Jaime, Chairman, ask questions, and then let's go a little bit out of order because we're going to cover stuff up. But if you're here in the community and you want to take the opportunity to ask Maureen questions, please raise your hand now. We'll get you in. Maureen, here's my first question. You may know, because you're such a good reporter, about this particular case, but just in general, if the FBI, which is involved in anything like this, sees the local folks screwing up, does the FBI ever say, like, hey, Governor, like, get the locals in line, or the FBI just would let the local incompetence occur?
Well, the FBI isn't always involved. We get involved when they ask for our assistance.
Yeah.
And when they do, we're happy to help any way we can. You saw the FBI's evidence response team kicking through the snow, but I think what they were looking for were some, now that I have more information about the crime scene, they were looking for some unspent rounds or some shells, some shell casings from the shooting. They did, in fact, find some unspent rounds on the floor in the room where the shooting took place. And the difference between unspent or unshot rounds and spent rounds is that the fingerprints and DNA don't always survive the heat from the inside of a weapon. But if they're unspent, there's a really good chance you're going to get DNA and or fingerprints, depending on the sophistication of the offender. In this case, I think that's what is tying these two, maybe tying these two cases together.
Got it. Okay. They seemed to say yesterday, the police chief in Providence seemed to say that they hadn't started interviewing the students who were in the room at the time of the shooting. If that's true, it seems to me the way memories work, then maybe they want a way to beat while people are traumatized. But it would not be standard to interview people like as quickly as possible? And
Absolutely.
How could it be they wouldn't?
Well, it was a study session that was voluntary, so there was no list of students involved. So they just showed up. If you want to work with, the TA will be here and he'll be, or however it was. So they didn't really have a list, but they said they sent out an email to everyone. To me, it was just, I wouldn't have let them. I would have done everything in my power to interview all those people within 4 hours of that shooting if I could.
Right. And so when you see a police chief say kind of in a blasé fashion, yeah, we haven't interviewed them yet, we're trying to get their names from the university, it makes me crazy. Is that, shouldn't he be apologetic about it?
Yes.
Okay. Last one for me, and then Governor, and then Mr. Chairman.
What, the cameras?
No. I continue to say, if this were a typical school shooting, an angry student or whatever, you wouldn't disappear like that. It almost never happens. They either kill themselves, get killed at the scene, or get caught within a day because they're not professional. They haven't plotted it out to do a sophisticated escape. Is that? Am I right about that? That it's pretty rare if it's a school shooting of the kind we think we're just someone who's unhinged, as opposed to an assassination, that they don't typically get away for 5 days. Is that right or not?
I would say it's more likely than less likely, yes. But this person did walk around the neighborhood. I mean, they disappeared in such a way that I thought they were in the basement of one of those houses in that small area. I wouldn't, they must have just jumped in their car that they had parked a couple blocks away. I don't believe they had a phone on them, because I think if they did have a phone, that we would have found him much, much sooner.
Yeah. Aren't there phones? You must be able to buy like a burner phone that doesn't have tracking now.
Yeah, you can buy a burner phone, but you should still be able to geolocate something on that phone.
Yeah. Well, all right. Governor, questions for Maureen, if you have any.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. Who should be, I know as a governor, and I had to do a lot of press conferences during crisis, who should be doing the communications right now, from your perspective?
The PIO from the FBI, because they obviously have no experience running this. And I agree with both of you gentlemen regarding talking when there's nothing to say. Just stop. I also agree with the the sanctity of the investigation. The only people we really owe answers to are the victims. But in this case, I think they did such a disservice. If as the governor mentioned today in confirmation, if 4 of the witnesses that they did speak to said they yelled Allah Akbar or whatever, we should know that, because that will help narrow the focus and sharpen the spear. You know what I mean?
Yep. Mr. Chairman, questions if you have any.
Yeah, Maureen, what would it's the holiday season. These kids are traumatized. They're going back home. Well, what thoughts, advice, you've seen a number of these situations. What thoughts and advice would you give to the parents in the communities that those kids are in, just to give them some sense of sanity moving forward?
Well, I think when we get this person in custody and start answering questions, but that's not really going to help these students. These students I don't think they're going to end up like police officers or people like me, where we don't sit in a room if the doors are behind us, unless we're turned where we can see what's coming in. I think there are all kinds of, the Bureau has a assistance program that they're going to be offering up to these students. I'm sure the school should take some of their endowment money, and I'm fairly certain that they will, in fact, do that. Maybe they can elicit the help of those other Ivies to step up and really help one another in this situation, because those students are really going to need that.
Reynolds, thank you, Jamie. Reynolds, unmute if you can, to tell folks who don't know where you are in question for Maureen.
Yeah, so Maureen, question that puzzles me about the case, and is they arrested this guy from Wisconsin, and all you heard was the FBI used his cell phone to track him from Wisconsin to Providence, Rhode Island. And then 3 days later, they're like, "Yep, we cut him loose." So why were they tracking some kid from Wisconsin, and why did they arrest him? And then why did they let him go? Like, oh, we made a mistake. Like, where the puzzle pieces here that they picked some random kid who drove from Wisconsin to Rhode Island and decided, hey, we're going to pin this case on you. Like, I don't understand how this kid came into the sphere of the investigation. And 3 days later, and especially when you saw the video, you saw the supposedly shooter was kind of overweight, and then this guy from Wisconsin was not overweight.
Yeah,
like,
right. Reynolds,
help me.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got it. Go ahead, Maureen.
He was detained, not arrested, and the hallmark of any good investigation is to pivot when the evidence does not support what you're thinking. So his phone was in the area. He wouldn't be the first person to drive cross country to commit a shooting and then get on the road again. It's actually happened several times in the last year and a half or 2 years.
Yep.
And so they interviewed him. I mean, could he have put on, he's from Wisconsin. Could he have 3 or 4 pair of leggings at home? Yeah. Could the shooter that we saw on the video had had a little, like, what do you call those giant fanny packs that go across your shoulder? He had that on under his jacket to make him look even more fat and less threatening than in the earlier images of him. So, it could have been something like that. But they had to interview him. He told them where he was. He told them why he was there. They dispatched FBI agents or police officers to confirm or deny, and it was confirm. At that point, time to move on.
Yeah, Reynolds, thank you. Amy, wait 1 second, so I want to ask Maureen a follow-up. When they put out the video of the alleged suspect, he had a pretty distinctive walk. And law enforcement said, the face is covered, so we can't ID him by his face, but this distinctive walk. Are criminals sophisticated enough that maybe the guy's like, I'm going to be picked up on security cameras, I'm going to walk around with a fake walk, and then they'll be distracted by that? Is that something that could happen?
Yes.
Or is that, yes?
If you consider, if you saw the 4 terrorists that were going to set 5 pipe bombs off in Los Angeles on New Year's Eve at different locations, one of the things that they put in there was put a stone in your shoe so it alters your walk. That's a terrorist, actually. That would be a rather sophisticated technique. This person, however, walked that way, and then when they ran, you could tell they walked that way.
Yeah.
And they're going to catch this person soon, so I'm going to go on record as saying he's probably in his late 40s, maybe 51. He was overweight even as a child. That knock knee, I'd say he's got flat feet, and I'd say he's been overweight pretty much his whole life.
All right, it's not me, just to be clear, although I'm very close to matching Maureen's description. Amy, welcome
Mark,
in. Yes, sir.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
one concern I have long-term on this and other shootings we're having on college campuses is that we're going to isolate our college campuses in the future.
100%.
And not make them open campuses, which I think is going to be very detrimental
100%.
to communities and our education. But already private schools are putting gates and passes to get in. And if this continues to happen, I just see the long-term ramifications.
Governor, I totally agree. After the shooting we had here in Manhattan a few weeks ago, or months ago, I guess, at the building that has the NFL and has Blackstone, I knew what would happen. What we'd get more security, more post 9/11 type security, and that's obviously not nearly as disruptive of the culture as it will be for colleges and universities. But that's going to happen.
Well, I'd like to make a point there before we go forward,
yes,
Governor.
ma'am.
You talked about having to turn it into we don't want it to look like a prison, but they had 1,200 cameras, and almost none of them went into the security office. They have to start investing, and I do security threat assessments for my business, and I put together comprehensive plans, master plans for the whole campus. And if you have this type of camera at this location, and you can follow people very easily, and when you follow them and you have a couple of really good cameras, it's unbelievable what you can achieve.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point.
And of course, it's a wealthy school. This is not a school strapped for money. They could cancel a lot of things and do the necessary stuff. Let's take a couple more questions on this, and then I want to move on to some other topics. But again, we're watching because we may have a press conference while we're here visiting. Amy, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are. Question for Maureen.
Hey, thank you so much for letting me in. I'm Amy. I live in Virginia and Michigan. My husband and I graduated from Brown. He played football. I did not. And so we were really sad about this. And one of his football teammates' daughter was shot 3 times in the leg and is still in the hospital. They think she's going to still be able to walk and move around. So we feel it personally. I also had 2 kids just graduate from big state schools, Kentucky and Colorado. And throughout their 4 years, I can't tell you the number of times they not called me. They would text me like, hey, we're active shooter. Like, I'm in the bottom of here. I'm in the bottom of there. And one of my daughters said at 2:00 in the morning, hey, can I have permission for Uber Eats? I said, why? She said, I'm waiting for Janelle. She got shot at the fraternity and I'm outside the hospital waiting for her. And I said, yeah, get you something to eat. I worry so much about the fact that they aren't shocked at all. Yeah. They aren't scared at all. And I wonder if any of those kids, like our friend's daughter, well, she's in the hospital, she's very findable, but would anybody even think like, hey, maybe I should give my testimony? I just think that we're so numb to this.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart.
Yeah, Amy, it's a great point. Thank you for sharing. I'd love all 3 of you to comment on that. Maureen, and then Jamie, and then Pat. Thoughts on this question of how we can have young people be appropriately alert, but not inured to this in a numbing way. Maureen.
Well, I think there's all kinds of training. Another way to keep these universities safe is to put on really good training for these kids. Every single solitary time, over 80% of active shooters, there were a number of red flags and pre-incident indicators that could have easily triggered some sort of inquiry. I would like to start a movement where kids are taking responsibility for their own safety on campus. We are going to scour the internet. Who knows more about online stuff than these kids? We're going to scour the internet. We're going to schedule our group for 2 hours every day where we're going to be looking to see if there's any threats in our area. Let's set up alert systems and work with our law enforcement entities on campus. That's what it's got to come to, because we don't want them just sitting around waiting for this to happen. It's terrible.
Yeah, Jamie.
You know, I just interviewed, and it'll come out in the new year, Eliana Pinckney, who is Senator Clemente Pinckney's daughter. You all remember the Mother Emanuel massacre. She was 11 years old when her dad was murdered. And, we talked a lot about her generation. She's now 21. Her generation and the scars that they have now and the calluses that they built up because of these repeated shootings. It's just really hard, and it's sad to see a whole generation grow up. I mean, hell, the only thing that we had to worry about were fire alarms and tornado drills and hurricane drills in, here in South Carolina. But the fact that these kids now have to, it's natural to think about this stuff. It's just sad, for a whole new generation.
Well said. Sad, but well said. Governor.
Well, the only thing I'd add is I think one of the challenges, we have all these separate police departments in a small area. We have the campus, we have the regular police, we now have transit police. And the more different police units you have, the less the more communication breakdowns you have until after something occurs. Then everyone gets together. But I think that's one of the great challenges that I knew as mayor, that when you form all these different police departments in a small area, you tend to have natural turf or breakdowns in communication. Yep. And they need to be working together before an incident occurs, not after.
Yeah. Amy, thank you. Let's do one more question on this. Kelly, welcome, and tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind for Maureen and Jamie and Pat.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm from upstate New York. So I want to be very careful how I word this because I don't want it to come off the wrong way. But I used to work at an elementary school and went through the whole active shooter training as somebody that, worked in the office and oversaw that. And Maureen, when you said something that kind of got my ears perked, you said we need kids to be more responsible for their own safety. I'm just wondering, and this is a thought.
I don't mean little kids. I meant like college students.
No. I know. I actually agree with you. I agree with you. But I'm wondering if and how we could, if it's true, do kids become somewhat numb or immune to it? We put them through these drills. They constantly hear about it. Do you think kids are getting almost, like this happens and it's all in the news. Do you think, how do we convey to our kids the reality of this threat? And is the way we're doing it now, is there a better way, starting younger?
Well, let me ask you one question before I answer, and that is, and you said you were partially responsible for the training. When we go in to do training in schools, oftentimes they'll say, whatever you do, don't say anything, don't say or do anything graphic, no matter what you do. Is that the approach that your school took?
Well, no, I went to the training. I guess no, they never really answered that question. And this bothered me because we tell kids, some teachers would say, oh, kids, we're going to hide. There's maybe a bad guy outside. It didn't seem like there was a standard playbook for it. So
no, there's not a standard playbook for it. You're right. There are a lot of different companies that do this type of training. But I think the overarching good news in any kind of training like this, and we've seen this in the after action reports of several of these large scale events, is that the children actually learn. The ones that took the training say, I took this training in high school and I remembered very well. So I went straight to the basement and I got behind a big I-beam in the boiler room or something like that. Yeah. They really do learn. Whether or not it traumatizes them, I do want to mention one group of people regarding all these incidents, and that is the first responders. The average person experiences 3 to 5 really significant traumatic events in their life, and law enforcement officers and first responders, the number in not their whole life, just 20-year career, 300 to 600, and now they're saying the number could be up to 1,200 depending on where you work. If we think of the first responders that responded to Rob Reiner's house, I was talking to my sister who was a paramedic on the south side of Chicago for 28 years, and she said as soon as I saw that, she was getting choked up. She said, I could smell the blood. It never goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Kelly. Great to see you. All right. Maureen, you're welcome to hang around with us. We're going to move on to other topics, at least for the time being. If you stick around, great. If not, I'll just say right now, Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays. Thank you for joining. We love and value having you here on days like this.
Thanks. I may have to run because I've been working since 6. All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Maureen thinks she's impressing me by saying she's been working since 6. Whatever. No, just kidding. Maureen, thank you for staying with us after a long day. Grateful to you. All right. I want to get to 3 topics, at least, if we can. I want to talk to the chairman about his interview with Vice President Harris, but let me do 2 other things also in the news, and then we'll do that boom, boom, boom. First is in Minnesota today. Extraordinary new information about this scandal about spending and fraud. Here's the headline from the Associated Press, and this will knock your socks off. Number 11. The scale of the fraud, according to new information, is massive. About half of Medicaid's $18 billion in claims paid to Minnesota programs may be fraudulent. Here is the assistant U.S. attorney in Minneapolis, a guy named Joe Thompson, describing his sense of the scale. Number 12, please.
I spoke in the fall about the iceberg I saw ahead. Something's fraud that's much larger than what's been visible to the public. When I said that, it wasn't hyperbole or rhetoric, it was a warning. And today I want to talk and I want to show here a sense of what that iceberg looks like, because I think people deserve to know what that is and how big this problem is, because we can't solve the problem until we grapple with the size of it. So the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services pulled the claims data for these 14 programs dating back to 2018. And those 14 programs in Minnesota have cost $18 billion since 2018, and more than $3.5 billion in 2024 alone. So that's a sense of the magnitude of the problem. These are the 14 Medicaid programs, which is just a part of Medicaid, these waivered services that have been flagged as having issues with program integrity and fraud. Now, I'm sure everyone is wondering how much of this $18 billion was fraud. That's it's not the $1 million question, that's the $18 billion question. The answer is far too much, and the task ahead of all of us is not only figuring out how much of that money was fraud, because we know a significant amount was, but figuring out how to put an end to the fraud in our state and get control of it. So let me end with this before I take questions. The magnitude of the fraud in Minnesota cannot be overstated. It's staggering amounts of money that have been lost.
Amazing. $1 billion. I mean, just staggering is the right word. Okay, so Governor Walz has been defending what happened in the sense of playing down certain aspects of it to the ears of some people in Minnesota, and has been combative about it. And he's been facing a fair amount of criticism. Polymarket is asking the following question. We're going to polymarket this in a second. Obviously, he's a friend of the chairman's. He's a fellow governor of Pat McCrory. So you guys are both going to be, I think, interested in this and perhaps surprised. Polymarket question: will Tim Walz be charged with a crime by March 31st? What are the odds that Tim Walz is charged with a crime? You can see a few weeks ago it was 20%, above 20%. Now it's down to 5%. Curious to me that the bettors have gone down because the scandal's only gotten worse. But 5% still is kind of a striking thing. So, Jaime Harrison, is this shocks your conscience, or this is what happens in government programs?
Well, listen, I mean, I was a staffer on the Hill for a number of years, and there's fraud in the system, right? And the real question is, do you have stomach in a bipartisan fashion to hunt it down and to fix it? And it's really, really important. And you see it across the ways. It's not just about poverty programs or programs in healthcare, but it's also defense programs that are going to huge companies, defense companies. And so it's really, really important not only to authorize and appropriate the dollars, but it's also to investigate how those dollars are being utilized on both the state level and at the bottom level in terms of individual levels that are coming down the pike. And so I know Tim Walz very well, and I'm sure he will do his best to figure out where the break is in the system and to try to work with the federal government to fix that and remediate it.
Governor McCrory, something I've heard from folks, including some Democrats, about Governor Walz's reaction is they don't feel he's angry enough about what happened. They just think his tone is a little bit off. I'm wondering if this were your state, would you evince anger about it or try to heal? What's the proper posture for a governor? Because this is complicated. It's federal program, states involved, private sector, nonprofit. What's the right attitude to bring to this as a governor?
Well, first is the big picture. A lot of federal programs go through the states, and then the states depend upon the counties or the local government. So you have these different layers. And what I found out as governor for a lot of federal programs, I found out some counties were incapable of having the resources to do the checking that they should have. And there are some states that don't have the capability. If I were the governor of Minnesota right now, I would explain this is exactly what we have. This is how we do it. Mm-hmm. This is where we're seeing the breakdown right now. Instead of just being general, he should clearly explain this is how the process is supposed to work. We're immediately investigating where the process broke down, and we're seeing if there's any laws being broken.
Yeah.
But he's got to show some action, and he's got to educate the public of where these breakdowns could have occurred.
Yeah.
Because if you don't say anything, you're going to assume they're political payoffs.
Yeah.
And that's the worst kind of corruption where, yes, you can go to jail, but ineptitude is probably not a reason to go to jail, or prison. But you better start explaining this is what the process is supposed to be. This is where we're seeing some potential breakdowns, and this is the immediate corrections we've made and the investigations we're starting and following through on.
Yes, sir.
But he's got to show some action.
Yeah, well said. All right, let's talk about one more topic, and we're going to segue here into the chairman's interview with Kamala Harris. And I'll say, I mean this honestly, Jamie, your interviews, as you build up your body of work, because you're relatively new at this, your interviews are so good because even when you're interviewing folks who we've heard talk before, you're just bringing out new stuff. You're bringing out new content, new topics, and a new tone. And when you all see some sound bites from Vice President Harris, you're going to say, well, that's different. She seems different. And it's because the chairman is a sorcerer. He's a hypnotist. He just brings out a different tone. It's great. So we're going to do that in a second. Anyway, tomorrow's the day.
He set you up, Mr. Chairman.
I know. I'm waiting
not at
for
all.
it, Governor.
No, I'm not at all. It's all positive.
Whenever someone compliments me that much, I'm worried.
No, you'll see. It's very good. And of course, the governor's got a show on public television. Same thing. You guys are rare examples of folks shifting from politics into my business, and you're both just bring great touch to it. Anyway, here we go. Tomorrow's the day we're supposed to get all these documents. We have O'Connell on the morning meeting. He's as involved with this as really anybody in the country. And he's like, I have no idea what's coming out, what the volume of it is, what's coming out. We know what's going to be redacted. He doesn't know. Lots to criticize regarding how Republicans have handled this. But today, for the second straight day, Democrats on the House Investigative Committee put out a bunch of photos that are just random. There's no context about when they were taken, who took them, who's pictured in the photos. Sometimes it's famous people. I don't understand what they're doing. I find it very bizarre. I'm not even going to, I could show you some of them. Here's one, number 16. Okay, this is an example of my being mystified of what the Democrats are doing. This is one of a few photos they put out today. So it's a picture of a woman's foot and the book Lolita. Okay, and there's stuff written on her foot. I just don't understand it. They're like Salvador Dali. There's just like this absurd thing. Anyway, that happened today. Here's a poly market. We're going to poly market this number 21. This question of whether there's an Epstein client list that's going to be revealed. Okay, what's the chances that this year there'll be a client list? It used to be quite high. It used to be above 50%. It's down to 4% chance because the government keeps saying there is no client list, but there are going to be names. I'm relatively confident tomorrow we're going to see names of people who've never been associated with Jeffrey Epstein. That's my sense from talking to folks, and that'll be interesting. Here is the first bit of the chairman's interview with Vice President Harris talking about the Epstein files. This is number 19, please.
Why didn't the Biden administration release those files?
Pardon me. Stop this for a second. Sorry about this. I apologize. It's mislabeled on my form. That's not the chairman. Yeah, sorry. That's not the chairman. Mm-hmm. This is Jimmy Kimmel. When is this from?
It's last night.
Last night. Okay. All right. My apologies. We'll get to the chairman's interview in a moment. Here's Jimmy Kimmel with the vice president. Go ahead.
While they're running against this guy, or why didn't they come out during your administration?
To give you an answer that will not satisfy your curiosity, I will tell you, we, perhaps to our damage, but we strongly and rightly believed that there should be an absolute separation between what we wanted as an administration and what the Department of Justice did. We absolutely adhered to that, and it was right to do that. The Justice Department would make its decisions independent of any political or personal vendetta or concern that we may have. And that's the way it worked.
All right. Again, my apologies. I misread it. It wasn't mislabeled. It's my fault. Okay. Jaime first. These things are going to come out. If you were addressing the nation, everybody, and said, here's how you should read these. Here's how you should think about them. Here's why this is important. What would you say?
I mean, the bottom line is this, Mark. When powerful people appear as though they're being shielded and blocked and held to a different standard, that's when the trust of the American people is eroded. And what you will see, and oftentimes you hear from the other side, well, there's some Democrats that are associated with folks and this and that. When you hit the vast majority of folks in the Democratic Party said, so what? If you did something wrong, then you should be held accountable for it, regardless of who's involved in it, right? And that's really where I sit. If you didn't do anything wrong, then you don't have to worry about anything. But if you did something wrong, then maybe you should worry. Yeah. So I mean, I think folks want, and this is where you get some bipartisan agreement. There are people on both sides of the aisle that just want to see this stuff come out so they know where we are, and that the victims can be brought to some closure for them as much as possible.
Yeah, Governor, just your thoughts on is this something America should focus on? Or do you agree with the chairman? What's your view on why this is significant?
Well, let me first say the Republicans have been on their heels on this issue for the past month. And the Democrats are doing the Republicans, my party, a great favor by releasing these pictures piecemeal, because they're given the impression they're doing this for political reasons. And with no rhyme or reason on what pictures are blacked out or not blacked out, which pictures are pictures we've seen before, which are new pictures, no context whatsoever. So you're putting yourself to criticism for being political. I think they're making a very bad strategical mistake at a time when they have my party on the heels for the president not wanting to do information on this issue. And by saying, well, we already know Democrats are involved. Well, we've known that, Clinton and so forth, and Summers and others, but that's old information. I just, if I were the chairman, I'd be going, stop it. If you got pictures, release them all at one time. I don't think a party should be releasing pictures anyway. It should be a joint cooperative thing.
Yeah, and maybe a little context.
I think they're making a mistake at our party's favor.
Yeah.
I just think it's poor politics.
All right, now let's go, because we got a lot to get to. And I'll just say,
with all due respect, Mr. Chairman.
With all due respect, Mr. Chairman. I like to be transparent. There's stuff on social media. Matthew Bartlett's forwarded me some of it. Thank you, Matthew. That suggests the perpetrator of the crimes in MIT professor in Brown may be in New Hampshire, may have committed suicide. I'm just telling you what's on Twitter. Don't know if it's true, but there's no reason not to share it because you could read it on Twitter as well. Okay. DNC announced today they're not putting out their so-called autopsy after action report, whatever it is, although they did release some bullet points from it. So I'm not sure what the difference is, get the whole report. Mr. Chairman, was that a good decision to just sort of avoid the controversy that would come with it?
Well, listen, if I were chair, I sat down with a committee to talk about my thoughts about 2024 and what happened. But in the end of the day, I think the chair's thinking, does this help or hurt?
Yeah.
And we got to be focused, clear-eyed and focused on 2026.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't help us win another race, doesn't win the House back in 2026, then we will all grumble about it, and social media will be up in arms. But in the end of the day, it's about making sure we get the House back. And the one thing Democrats are very good at, I like to say, our our icon is the donkey, but we are sure as hell the Eeyore party. We are the wolves. We will hand wring ourselves to death about this stuff. So,
all right, let's talk about your interview with the vice president, your former vice president, your friend. Just tell us the circumstances of how you booked it and when you did it, and how she seemed to you as compared to olden days.
Yeah, so we had been talking about this for months, right before her book came out, and because I was out in LA, she lives in California. It just made sense, and she was coming to address the DNC members. It was great to see her. It was the first time I had saw her since Election Day, back in 2024. She came to the DNC. And so it was really good to see her. And I told her, I said, her reading her book was a little PTSD for me, because it was just hard to relive some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But we had a really great discussion. I tried to see if I could get out of her about running in 2028 and some of those other things, but she's a prosecutor. It's hard. It's hard to nail her down on those.
Yeah, she doesn't say what she wanted to say. In any event, I've upgraded my rankings of her and likelihood she's the nominee. I had her off my top 8, and I now have her at number 4. And if I were publishing again tomorrow, I think I'd move her to 3. I really think she's done some really smart things, and people really underestimate just how strong she is with the party. Here she is with the chairman in the interview. This is the one where it's not numbered. So it's the one where she talks about not being immune, about being misunderstood. If we could play that one, please.
I'm not immune to the feelings that come with being misunderstood or all of that. But I, to be very frank with you, I don't believe that God is going to judge us based on what other people say about us.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
I think God is going to judge us based on the purity of our heart and our deeds.
And what we do to help people.
Indeed. And so, that's where I try to take some comfort.
Okay, here's another one. Talking about the midterms and President Trump. Again, it's unnumbered, but you'll play that one, please. And this from
some hard and real work that we also have to do beyond the midterms and beyond Trump, because it's a lot bigger than that in terms of the challenges and the issues that we need to deal with. We need to deal with the fact that we've got to be clear-eyed that the American people right now cannot afford life, that there has been a concentration of power in our country, economic and political, in a way that the people do not have access to so many of the decisions that are impacting their lives every day, that there is an incredible amount of mis and disinformation that is contributing to deep distrust, not only of government by the people not trusting government, but also increasingly the mistrust and distrust that the American people have about each other.
Yeah.
These are all things we've got to deal with.
Chairman Harrison, I won't say she's like full Bullworth, but what I've noticed in your interview is she just seems a little more unshackled. She seems a little less constrained by criticizing the party, criticizing things in society that she thinks are off kilter that she might have held her tongue on before. I'm just wondering if you shared that, having sat with her.
No, I think you're right, and it's part of the reason why I created At Our Table, and I named it in honor of my grandparents, because at our Sunday table, and I'm sure the governor feels the same way, particularly in the South, you have some of the most heartfelt, the most real discussions at that table, and sometimes it's real talk, and I wanted to create an environment which allows folks, leaders like Kamala Harris, to speak a bit more plainly about where they are and what they believe, and what their values are and what they fight for.
Tell people where they can watch the full thing.
It's you can go to YouTube or just go to aotpodcast.com, sign up YouTube. We have a number of great people who, this was our season finale. But we've had Tim Walz, Wes Moore, a number of folks, Jim Clyburn, who talks about his new book, The First Eight, Ro Khanna. I mean, it's a really, really great season this year, and I'm very proud of it.
All right.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Mark, just a comment, with all due respect, when a politician or former vice president says to be very frank at the beginning of her sentence, it reminds me of someone saying to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It just means they're not. And I don't see what you saw.
Yeah.
And in fact, if I were President Trump or a U.S. Senator or House candidate right now, I would want her on TV and waltz on as much as possible, especially when Trump is having a difficult time this week after the Hollywood comments and things. I'd want those two on TV as much as possible, as opposed to stronger voices like the Baltimore mayor, the California governor, and a long list. But I think this is beneficial to the Republicans. Good interview, by the way, but I think it's what the Republicans would like to see more of, so we can have the comparison that we had on the ballot last time versus a future ballot. With all due respect.
All right.
Well, Governor, all due respect, please bring Trump back on for 15 minutes of loud screaming and rambling at the American people.
I don't disagree.
Because that was a boon for us.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, we're up.
I don't disagree with you.
All right, we're up against.
I want you to agree with me on my comment, though.
Yes. We're up against the clock, so I need to do a bunch of stuff here. First, over the holidays, don't binge some Swedish police procedural drama. Go watch Jamie's full season. I recommend it to you. There's a lot of good ones in there. Okay, here's some news. Again, Matthew Bartlett is just has some magical leprechaun power. You can find all the news on Twitter. I really don't know how he does it. So let me run through some things. Most of these are from, maybe all of them are from Matthew Bartlett. Here we go. John Thune says in an interview with Brett Baer that's taken place during this hour, says he agrees with President Zelensky that the U.S. should do more to pressure Russia. He also says, and this is interesting because we've been debating this on two-way the last couple of weeks. He says the healthcare plan could be included in a reconciliation bill. That seems to still me to be as likely as anything, rather than trying to get a bipartisan, bicameral deal. Brett Baer asked him about renaming the Kennedy Center after President Trump, calling it the Trump Kennedy Center. And I would say John Thune's answer was not wildly enthusiastic. He basically said humana, but he didn't say this is a great day in the history of our nation. The president today signed two things. He signed the Defense Authorization Act. He also, laws had long been reported he was going to do, reclassified marijuana as a Schedule 3. And that's interesting because I did it on a Thursday in the holiday time, and we'll see what the reaction's like. Let's just get a reaction to that. Jaime Harrison, good idea, bad idea?
In terms of the scheduling or the Trump Kennedy Center?
No, I know what you think about that. I'm not going to ask. No, but making it Schedule 3 or whatever.
I mean, it's long overdue. I know that the Biden administration studied and did whatever, but it's long overdue. So
Governor, do you agree?
Well, I want to see a reunion of Led Zeppelin and Hart at the Kennedy Center singing Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I want to see again. I don't care who's president. That was the best performance ever.
It was pretty good. Were you in the room?
No.
Okay.
I've never been invited.
The Providence police says they'll give a 20-minute warning before a press conference. So this could be a long night for those of you who are interested in following that story. All right. Let me I got to do some business here and get some sponsors work in, and then hopefully we'll have time for at least one more question. That's what happens when we break format. All right, here we go. Our friends at Ethos, one of our great sponsors this year. I believe they're coming back next year. I think that's right. Ethos is an online platform that makes it easy to get life insurance to protect your family's future in minutes, not hours, months, or days. Go to ethos.com/two-way and get a free quote. Ethos.com/two-way. If your family's breadwinner is vital for making things like tuition payments or mortgage payments, you need to do the sensible thing and make sure you have the peace of mind that comes with life insurance. Ethos, the online platform, again, makes it easy, no complicated process, 100% done online, no medical exam required. Just answer a few health questions, get a quote in as little as 10 minutes, protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get a quote. Ethos.com/two-way gets you a free quote. Ethos.com/two-way. The application times may vary, but I think you'll be surprised at how quick it goes. Again, ethos.com/two-way. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And I'm just going to do one more right now to get it out of the way because we're up against the clock, which is our friends at Chef IQ. Again, they've been a great sponsor all year as well. ChefIQ.com, promo code two-way gets you 30% off the entire site, including the Chef IQ Sense thermometer, cooking thermometer. It's wireless. Download the app. I've been using it on all sorts of beef and pork and fish. Works brilliantly. It tells you when to put it in, take it out, turn it. When you take it out, how long to let it sit. It does all the work for you. It's every bit as technologically sophisticated as you would imagine we'd be in 2025 for something like this. The Black Friday sale continues. 30% off. Go to chefiq.com. Buy one for yourself. Buy one for the cook in your life. And I've been recommending it for people in your life who are bad cooks. The good cooks could probably continue to cook well without it, but this will keep them from burning things, undercooking them. Nothing worse than an undercooked piece of meat as far as I'm concerned. chefiq.com. Promo code two-way, 30% off. Go to chefiq.com right now. All right, my friend Matt is here. Matt, I'm very happy to see you. Welcome in. Matt lives out west.
Yeah, holiday greetings from the Lake Tahoe area, guys. Good to see you all.
Welcome in. Thank you for being here, my friend. What's on your mind for the chairman and the governor?
Well, I had a question. I'm going to date myself here a little bit. I was in middle school, junior high, and high school during the Reagan years. And there's a lot of discussion now about the historical parallels on where we were in the late 70s and 80s and where we've been from kind of 2020 to 2025. And the first couple of years of Reagan were pretty rough economically. GOP lost a couple dozen House seats in 82, but that tough medicine led to almost 20 years of uninterrupted prosperity in the 80s and 90s. So in this whole affordability discussion, do you think there are lessons from the early 80s on kind of how both parties should be messaging in 26 and 28?
You're talking about messaging, not policy, right?
Yeah, messaging.
Okay. Governor.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a great correlation. I think the mistake President Trump made was overpromising for short-term results when no president can have an impact in 8 months or 12 months on economic policy. I think it's unrealistic to think a president has that much power over a worldwide economy or even a national economy. So I think that's the mistake the president made, was saying I'll deal with it immediately on the election trail. And I personally think you'll see some long-term positive results next year, but it might occur not in time for the midterms.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think trust is the most important thing you got right now. And the American people just need you to be straight up with them, right? If things are not going as well, or you need to course correct, then they rather hear you say that than to say, oh, everything's good when their pocketbooks say that it's not. And I think that's the most important thing that our political leaders can do right now, is just be upfront and honest with the American people about where we are.
Yeah. Brilliant. Matt is one of the scores and scores of people I've met through two-way, and I couldn't be more delighted, my friend, to have you in my life and to be able to collaborate with you some stuff and to have you come on. And I wish you and your family a great holiday. Thank you for being here.
Right back at you, Mark.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And Mr. Chairman and Governor, grateful for both of you. I hope you and your families have a great Christmas and a happy holiday. And again, love having you be part of two-way, and please come back regularly in the new year.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Your haircut looks great for the Christmas holidays.
Yeah, wait till I'm back and you see what I look like. Thank you both. And thanks everybody again, part of the two-way community. So grateful to you. Lots of new shows coming in 2026, including many having nothing to do with politics. And I think you'll enjoy them, and we're excited to introduce them to you. And of course, 2A Tonight, the morning meeting, will be back right after the first of the year. I hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating, and a great new year. And feel free to continue to offer me up your expert advice about how to produce the shows, because I like to hear all the opinions. Very, very generous of those of you. And in all honesty, some of the greatest ideas we've gotten here come from folks, including some who've never produced a piece of video in their lives, but it's outside perspective that often is the best. So please, even over the holidays, as you reflect, maybe watch old episodes or however you want to get in touch, please let us know what you'd like to see on these two shows, on my two shows, current shows, but also everything else. Couldn't be more grateful for two-way, for the two-way community, for my colleagues here, as I said, for our sponsors, all the great guests we've had, and look forward to seeing everybody right after the first. Happy holidays. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you soon. Take care.